Part two, you're not going to want to miss this one. We're going to talk about industry expectations, some considerations before you start going to school at SDI. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Gun Psychiatrist here. And in part two, we're going to cover some industry expectations and some considerations before deciding to pull the trigger over there at SDI. And really in this video, I want to focus in on what an actual firearms manufacturer setting is going to look like. You know, obviously you can kind of see inside a gun store and kind of see the layout for those of you that might be gun nuts or go to gun stores. It's pretty easy to watch kind of what the actual day of a life of an employee at a gun store is. Where finishing shops are going to be a little different, and they have their own pace, but they're not like it is in a manufacturing environment. And when you really want to talk gun industry, to me, the core of the industry, I believe, is in the manufacturing end, because without manufacturers, we wouldn't have guns. So I'm going to kind of come from my experience at working at Kel-Tec, in that way you can evaluate what I came into it with versus what you're going to come into it with a degree. I've worked in several sectors of the firearms industry. I've worked for myself and I've worked for other people. And you can go from everything down to a gun store, refinishing shops, to manufacturers. Most people looking to get into the gun industry that are entertaining and education at SDI are not looking to go behind the counter and sell firearms. They're looking at going a step further and doing something a little bit more. The one thing I was surprised about when I first started working at Kel-Tec was the fact that a number of their employees on night shift were high school students, guys still in high school, girls still in high school. And they would do everything from like rifling barrels, barrel making, laser engraving, etc. I mean, they were doing a ton of stuff as high school students, working part-time. I mean, I thought it was really cool and amazing that high school students would take such an interest in that. When you look at that company, and Kel-Tec was a great company to work for. Derek Keldron and his father, George, they treat, and of course his brother works there now, they treat their people like they're part of the family. And I can sing nothing but praises in their direction. But they have a very diverse workforce. And so when I was hired on there, I was just absolutely surprised, because I was coming in there with about 8 years of experience in the industry. I mean, I'm working next to high school kids that have just been doing this for the last few months. And they're running this stuff, running barrels like a boss. I mean, they're doing this stuff. It's amazing. I was hired in with Kel-Tec wanting the goal to move to the assembly area. And of course, at the time, I had 8 years of experience, minimal machine experience, and no CAD experience. I started at Kel-Tec rifling barrels, and then had moved later down to their finishing department to help with some staffing shortages. And then upon requesting to move to assembly with one of the owners, I was told basically this, quote, "I don't want to waste your talent in assembly," unquote, because according to him, he can pay some guy $15 an hour to assemble guns and put them in boxes. It's not that hard to do. So what they did instead was they placed me over in QA department, where I was a specialist, and all this with no degree and 8 years of experience as a gunsmith. The reason I bring this up is I want you to weigh this against what basic experience in the form of degree will get you. It's not going to be much. And as you can see, I come in pretty experienced, and I started out where some of the high school kids would start out at. I didn't have some fancy degree or anything like that, but you got to start somewhere here. Really, when it comes down to it, assembling guns is not a hard task. And Derek had a great point when he told me what he did, because I would be a waste over in the assembly department. There's a lot more things with the experience that I had I could be doing to help that company grow and help these guns get out the door safely. And you got to think about where that's going to take you with zero experience. You've read about guns in books, and you've had your hands on your own personal firearms, and that's it. And you got this fancy degree. Okay. Where's that going to leave you? Now, again, that's just Kel-Tec, but think about it with any other big manufacturer. And here's another thing to consider, is that most positions with a manufacturer are going to be repetitive. Basically, in the context of a barrel rifler, you're going to be tasked with rifling a certain number of barrels a day. Exceed that number and move up, or maintain it and maintain your position. Now, whether you're riveting a pin to a mechanism or welding or heat treating or running some kind of a machine, that is going to be your entire day. And you're going to do it every day, over and over and over again, 5 days a week. Again, most of these jobs can be obtained with little to no experience. You just got to know somebody on the inside. If you wanted to make big bucks at Kel-Tec, one of the ways that a lot of people do there is they would attend machinist school. And that was like the way to go. Because Kel-Tec, I do believe at the time, Kel-Tec would pay for you to go to that machinist school. It took about 2 years. And also, while you were working on the job, you were obtaining hours that you needed to become licensed through the state. And so after 2 years, you'd become licensed. And that's how most of the guys got that pay bump, is they became certified machinists and worked for Kel-Tec, because that's what the industry needs, is machinists. Now I want to give you some considerations. So first thing I want to ask you is, before you go just jumping right in to get a degree in firearms technology, how many gun industry jobs out there do you see posted specifically requiring an associate's degree in firearms technology? Yeah, not many. And most online job sites, just so you know, don't even recognize a firearms technology degree, because if you're like applying through a company or something like that, number one, SDI doesn't even come up half the time. And number two, if it does, the list of degree majors you can pick from, firearms technology is not in there. Another thing to consider is that SDI is a for-profit school. And of course, I'm not saying that they're a degree mill, but in my experience, most employers will train on the job and not require a degree. You got to understand, making guns is not that hard. People could make shovels into AK-47 receivers. It's not that hard. Now, I'm not saying that having your degree is going to hurt you. It could definitely help you, but I'm not sure how much, if at all, it will help you. One thing that I found interesting while I was going to school is that the administration floated several ideas for classes to current students attending the school. The marketing lady, she sent out a survey regarding the school direction and what classes should be offered. Now, of course, I talked to a lot of my classmates, and a lot of people talked on Facebook and stuff like that. There were a lot of suggestions that were made on there that were really good and quite definitely obtainable for the school to do. But all the student suggestions that classmates shared were pretty much ignored by the school. Not really surprised by that by any means, but you would think that a firearms school would add something like, I don't know, CAD classes to their class lineup. But instead they ended up with a drone class. Now, I know what you're thinking, and no, it wasn't a drone that you could strap a firearm to and fly around and shoot targets. No, it's just a drone class. So let me get this straight. A school dedicated to preparing the industry with a new generation of professionals somehow decides that a drone class is what the firearm industry needs, versus, I don't know, like maybe trying to strike strategic partnerships in very large cities all across the countries with trade schools that have machine shops to maybe get some of your students into their classes and work on credit transfers. Or, I don't know, accessing professional free CAD software through Autodesk that's made free, and just maybe getting an instructor in there to teach a CAD class or two. Basics to CAD? Drones. This is where people like me tend to lose a lot of respect for schools like SDI, because your actions are going to ultimately speak louder than your words at the end of the day. And I would think that an introduction to CAD or something industry related to put students on a different playing field with most employers would be more beneficial than some drone class, whatever. It's their school. They can do whatever they want. Understand that that silly little drone class does nothing to help you gain a position in the industry. That silly little drone class does not teach you how to do CAD, or does not give you some more hands-on machine experience that you're going to need to be successful in the industry, unless you want to sit back and make $10 an hour with an associate's degree and a bunch of student debt. So that's going to do it for the second video. And in the third video, I'm going to go over
who I think should go to SDI, because I'm not just knocking the school down altogether. It takes a person with a specific set of circumstances to attend that school. And in the last video of this series, I'm going to give you who I think would be the most ideal candidate. So again, right now, thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, do leave some comments down there and let me know what you think. If you really liked it or it helped you in any way, do give me that subscribe. And of course, smash that like button to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. And until next time, I will see you later. I'm the gun psychiatrist signing off. God bless America again.